Alright, so we're in my shop. We're going to try to flare. I'm going to try to capture that on video. And so my fitting is damaged. I don't know if you can really tell. And there it is. Kind of see how there's that indentation right there. I think that's what's causing it to leak. So we're going to whack off this fitting, put a new one on, and then try it out. Yeah, I've been practicing on some other lines to try to get it right, and did okay. And so we're going to try to do this one, and hopefully we can get something in there that's usable. If not, I'll use a flex line. I'll still have to flare this line at some point so that I can put a fitting on there and connect it to the flex line. But yeah, we'll see. So hopefully this goes well. But come on, join me in the adventure. Take the old flare off. Got this cutter right here. Going to open it up, and this one doesn't. So if you've never used a cutter like this before, it's not like you just slice through the thing. You actually have to do little by little, and it cuts it straight off. But come on, get in there. So basically you just put it in there. I've got the flare kind of hanging out there at the roller, and then I tighten it down, but just enough that I can get a good rotation on, and then I tighten it again and give it another rotation, and hopefully I can keep this thing squared up to get a good square cut. There we go, and we got our cut. Now we got to clean that up, get the old fitting off, and yeah, we're gonna we'll file that flat and go from there. Alright, so the next step is to file that flat. If you've never used one of these tools, there's two sides to them. There's a flat side, which is this side, and on the other side it's flaring. So at first you want to put it just sticking up a little bit over the flat side, and you're just going to file on that and get a good flat surface. So we're just taking a flat file here. We're going to get that good and tight in the vise, and just file at it little by little. So there you have it. You just want to file that flat. Next we're going to take a reamer and just kind of clean that hole out a little bit. As you can see, there's just stuff everywhere. I don't have the handle for this anymore, but you just kind of want to give it a little cut in there, just kind of clean it all out. So I'm just using a flat file, that flat file again, and it just has some rough edges all around it from where we were filing on it. So we're just putting a nice little chamfer on it, just to kind of break that edge a little bit. And there's even a little burr right there. So apparently the prep work is where all the is where you get your payoff on these. While I have this in the vise here, I don't have it clamped down real hard. It's just enough to kind of snug in there to hold it up. If you go too tight, you're going to crush your tubing, and then you got to start all over again. Alright, so I put a nice chamfer on there, inside and out. And so the next step up will be to basically you mount it up, you bubble it, and then you flare it. So I'll show you all those steps. One thing you do not want to do, and it's very easy to do, is to forget to put your new nut on. So make sure you do that before you mount it up in your flaring tool there, or else you're going to have to chop this off and start all over again, and you don't want to do that. When you're flaring, you see how you have two steps there? That right there, this raised section, that's how much you want it sitting up. So when you go to put this in, you want it sitting that high. Okay. And you want to tighten the nut or the wing nut that's closest to you first, or closest to where you're trying to flare first. And I've got this whole thing kind of loose, so it's just kind of a game of getting it there. Crank down on that pretty good. Crank down on this one pretty good. It's pretty even across there. That's what you want. You want that. You don't want to offset one way or the other. And a big shout out to my buddy Ken, who let me borrow his double flaring tool. I have a single flaring tool, but I don't have these little inserts, and so he was nice enough to let me borrow his set, and really appreciate that. So anyway, you take the stem and you put it down in there and kind of square it up. Then you take your flaring tool and back it up and put that on top of it. And then you start cranking it down, kind of snug it up, and then you'll square it all up. Alright, so we're just going to go ahead and start flaring this down. That's probably about it right there. So we're going to back it back off. See what we got. Looks alright. So the next step is you take that off and then you line this up. Then you go ahead and crank this one down. Looks like we have a successful flare. Alright, so this is what we got. It's alright, I probably filed on a little too much on this one edge, but which kind of makes it look a little uneven right in here. But besides that, it looks alright. It's not as pretty as the original, but it's, well, we'll see if it works. So that's the next steps, just to see if it works. Okay, so when I put this one in, it still leaked. So we cut it off, went straight. Here's our new one. We're going to use a flex line to this point and try that. So I'm just kind of out of options at this point, and so that's what we're going to try. Alright, just to show you what I've done. So no matter what I tried, I still had a leak coming out of the fuel tank. So I put this flex line on and cut this solid line like you see, and reflared it, and then I started it up and no leaks. So fingers crossed, knock on wood, whatever, hopefully that's all good now. Yeah, I just had to modify it to get it to work right. With that being said, I'm going to have to make sure to secure this line with some brackets. I've got some floating around on this thing that I haven't put on yet, so I'm going to do that and keep it from rubbing right there and rubbing some other places. But right now it's kind of resting on the clutch mechanism, which eventually would rub through, so I don't want to do that. Yeah, so anyway, hopefully that helps. If you're having problems with getting your fuel lines not to leak and all that good stuff. But anyway, appreciate y'all watching. Make sure to hit that subscribe and like button and leave any comments you got. It's time for supper.